works. Okay, now it's working. Cool. So we're recording. All right, you ready?
I am ready, sir.
Let's do it. Coming back. Welcome to another episode of No Talking During the Movies. I am your host, Stephen Austin.
And I am the fat guy in the background named Tank.
Tank is Marvel, and I am DC. And you got a cattail in your footage.
Sorry.
Tank is very well liked, just like his cat, and a massive success.
And massive.
Massive and massive. While half of my work is poorly received, and I'm still working my way up, just like DC.
You'll get there, though.
I'll get there, just like DC. They seem to be coming around.
They turned it around, didn't they?
Yeah. So it seems to have been a long week since we were doing this. It's been about a week, right? Since we did No Talking?
Since we did that, yeah. At least like a long week.
It felt like months.
It felt like years, honestly.
And it felt like during that week, the world caught on fire and everything movie related grinded to a halt.
It felt like the world caught on fire, and then the Titans put it out by peeing all over it. And then stomping on it.
So, of course, we're talking about Rona and the pandemic and everything horrible. And, of course, that put an end to any new films and TV coming out. But that hasn't stopped news, but it did stop us for my reason. I was just lazy. But is that how I put it?
I would say that's probably a good estimation.
Yeah. But we're back. We're going to try to be. And,
to be fair, movies weren't here. You know what I mean? Like
not new, yeah.
There were no big releases. There were a couple of straight to digital that were impressive. King of Staten Island, Trolls. You know, I mean that's gonna really.
You listed a way more legitimate one.
Well, I mean, but Trolls was really successful.
Right.
So, but King of Staten Island was actually a phenomenal movie.
I'm happy to hear you liked it.
I loved it. And you know, you got Mulan coming to Disney Plus for $30. So there's been kind of a little bit of a paradigm shift in the business model, but now that movie theaters are starting to kind of slowly roll back on, you're finally starting to see some like good movie trailers, because there was a while there when it was some real gas station movie quality films coming out.
Yeah, because most of it was like Quibi and the stuff that they had like already worked so hard on.
Right.
And they're like, all right, I guess we'll release some trailers now.
But there was some really good stuff on Netflix. Power.
Project Power. Yeah.
Project Power
with Jamie Foxx
was great.
What was that Chris Hemsworth one that came out? Extraction?
Extractor. That was also fantastic. Spencer Confidential. Maybe the best, in my estimation, Netflix movie ever put out.
I thought you were going to say Mark Wahlberg, and then we could talk about The Departed again, but...
No, that's different. But, I mean, Mark Wahlberg's got some classics under his belt, but this one's great. And Winston Duke makes it, honestly. God, and Alan Arkin, too. And Eliza Schlesinger, who plays his wife, is a comedian that I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of her as a comedian. But in this movie, she's fantastic, very funny, very affable. So, that's that. I mean, Spencer Confidential was a great one. And there's, you know, and then that was it. And then we're like, now what?
I guess we released everything we had shot.
Yeah.
And now we have to wait. But, to go back to our, I guess, format was the question, and I thought this episode should be very DC heavy because last week we got all the DC news in the world. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, Tank, what DC product would you want a live action film or TV show of?
That's a good question. You know, I always thought the world needed a Batman TV show. Live action Batman TV show.
You mean not Gotham?
Not Gotham, no. Not and you know, my problem with the CW shows is they're teen soap operas.
The Arrowverse.
Yeah, the Arrowverse is teen soap operas dressed up as you know, superhero content. And I would like to see a little bit different stuff. Definitely not, bring it back to the 1966 Batman, campy,
Right.
just maybe something in between there.
Right.
Um, I really love all the stuff they're doing. I think I'm really excited about Black Adam because there's some heroes coming out of
Yeah.
that movie that are like never really got their due.
Yeah, and like at least some of them, I'm mainly thinking like Hawkman.
Yeah.
Like he was a character that was so prominent in everything Justice League, and then when they were
Mhm.
making the Justice League, they were like, "Well, he's too ridiculous. Got to go with the Aqua guy."
I think it's kind of one of those things that's really hard though, because
Right.
all the other products of that, like, you think of Justice League cartoons. Hawkman's easy to do because it's a
Yeah.
cartoon.
Of
You know what I
course.
mean? So it's hard. I think it's hard to make that look legit
Right.
in practical effects or CGI. I think that's probably been part of the problem, but we're not gonna have that problem more. And another one I always thought was underrated, Doctor Fate.
Yeah,
Uh,
Doctor Fate, and we
you know,
like
he'll
my
be
first real like exposure to him was Injustice 2
yeah, the
because I
game.
didn't know him. I didn't
Yeah.
know him. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of stuff in the Justice League cartoons, which
Right.
were great. I love Blue Beetle.
Ah, Blue Beetle's so
I
great.
think Blue Beetle could be a very very successful vehicle on DC.
I want a Blue Beetle and Static Shock like
That'd be a lot of fun.
combo. I think they would be really good together.
That would be a lot of fun. So yeah, so I mean, I think we're starting to see. I think DC's starting to kind of get their footing under them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're starting to realize that they can't be Marvel. You can't come out of
Right.
the gate, trying to be Babe Ruth. You gotta work your way up, and you gotta find your strengths. And they realize that you just can't try to make the same movies, just make them darker.
And that was truly like their problem. They were just
Hmm.
like, oh, I think it was when they announced that they were gonna do the Avengers was like a week later or something. DC was like, and we're doing a Justice League movie eventually, and we got it, and it wasn't what we wanted, or at least not what I wanted. But we'll talk more about that kind of stuff in a bit. But I did want to say my live action product that I want from DC is another Superman movie, but I want it to deal with Bizarro and all of like the Bizarro world stuff because I think that would one be way more interesting to see on screen. But if
Uh-huh.
we got Henry Cavill, I think it'd be really cool to see like Henry Cavill playing the Bizarro Superman
Yeah.
versus the regular Super. Like I just think that would be really really cool
I mean, that would
and
be
different.
interesting. Yeah, because I think the idea of there's so many properties that they have the opportunity to do it with,
It's
and
true.
you an evil Justice League. There's the Bizarro universe. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like I just there's so much, and it's. I mean, I think after Joker, I think it kind of woke them up. You know what I mean? I think Joker was kind of
Well,
the wake up
it
call they
was
needed.
it was something that had nothing to do with their big universe that they were trying to
Right.
make. That
Exactly.
was as successful, if not more successful, than the only product that was successful in that universe, which was Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it was like Suicide Squad, which didn't do as well as they wanted. Uh, Justice League, which didn't do as good. Batman v Superman didn't do as good, and then Joker, and that did gangbusters. And they were like, "Oh, I guess we can just do what we want to do, and it doesn't have to be in some big universe."
And it's an interesting study because DC between the two products is the more fantastical.
Yeah,
Because they use fake cities.
right.
Which is a bizarre thing where they both fake cities exist in the universe. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
Gotham City doesn't have a state. You know what I mean? Like it's
Which
just
that side note, it always bothered me in Batman v Superman that Gotham City and Metropolis were like across the
cross the
water.
river.
It's so stupid. They're on like
What?
it because isn't Metropolis essentially supposed to be like New York City and Gotham is supposed to be like Chicago?
Chicago.
Like two I don't know what they were doing with that.
I mean that movie had a lot
A
of
lot of problems,
problems.
right?
So I mean but that's one of them. And
Yeah.
and nowhere in canon do I ever remember them being that close.
No.
And two cities of that size being that close together, no wonder there's a crime. No wonder you can't get rid of crime in Gotham City.
And I think the funniest thing I saw, I'm trying to remember where I saw this, but it was along the lines of like the reason why Metropolis is so shiny and new is because Superman keeps destroying it, so they have to keep rebuilding it. But Batman keeps he's keeping it all local and not destroying anything,
Right.
so everything's like pristine, but it's getting old in
Well,
Gotham.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes
That's
a lot of
logical.
sense.
The insides are all brand new because he beat people up inside the buildings, not
Right.
and like the rooftops are all shiny, but all the outside facades are old and grimy. I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things where like I never, I Gotham iconic, and all that, but it
Right.
would be better if it was just New York. You know what I mean? It'd be like,
True.
even though Joker, you forget that it's Gotham. You know what I mean?
In the movie Joker?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's 1985 New York City. That's 1985 Times Square.
Right.
That's what that was, and you got that vibe, and I dug it, man. I tell you what, like I think if they could find a way to continue doing this, because honestly, you're not gonna make more money by making a string of movies that are all attached. If instead you just make a bunch of movies that are good, you know what I mean?
For
Like,
real.
you're gonna do a lot better making a bunch of good movies than
And
you were making subpar movies that are linked.
they're gonna try to keep certain franchises linked. Like this Flash movie is still gonna be involved with, all of their stuff. I think Black Adam is still in the big massive universe. I think um, Aquaman 2 is still involved in their big massive universe. So they're still keeping that. But I'm just happy to see like products like The Suicide Squad is completely its own thing.
Well, and it seems like, so first of all, they got James Gunn in on this, which is
Right.
awesome. He's going to, what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy was amazing.
He
So
made a bunch of misfits in space somehow superheroes.
right,
I don't know how he did it.
and he made them lovable and likable, and he made the story attainable for everybody. And it looks like from the because they don't have necessarily a trailer yet for the Suicide Squad, but what they had was a behind the scenes look.
It looks great.
And it looks amazing. And the way they talked about it is it's going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, because obviously when you're talking about superhero movies with a man-made shark guy, it's not going to be
Shark.
realistic. But what you are going to have is like, not sky beams and not end of the world Mayan prophecy bullshit. That was what we ran into last time with Suicide Squad.
That stuff I'm just so not into anymore. Is like
Right.
not every problem has to be the end of the world, and I think that's also why Joker might have fit so well, is because it was such a internal and local and just this one guy, and it may feel like the end of the world to him, but you're invested in a guy that is not stable and is potentially going to be one of the biggest bad guys in DC history.
And to that end, I think that they thought like trying to create a DC universe, same thing,
Right.
that the stakes have to be massive. The stakes don't have to be massive. We just have to be invested the way that we were with Joker. The stakes weren't high until the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the whole time the stakes are getting higher, but they're not into the world high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have to start in fifth gear. You know what I'm saying? Like let it build. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of great stories to be told that you don't have to have a witch, that you don't have to create a villain that's an exposition machine that directs so you can his only weakness is boomerangs. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do that shit. You know what I mean? Like
was the first Marvel end of the world threat, was that the Avengers?
I don't think so.
Because we gotta think. So maybe Thor, like when Loki shows up, but I don't remember Loki wanting to destroy the world in Thor.
Well, maybe he was because he was working for Thanos.
No, but that's in Avengers.
No. That's in Thor.
And Thor, he's still working for Thanos?
No. You're right. Because
It's
Thor is
all
more. You're
it's
right.
all
You're
his
right.
own gain
It's
of like
so
being the new king of
yeah.
Asgard or something.
Right.
Because I'm trying to think, Iron Man, it was just like,
Captain America, but that
but that was just a side of nature winning a war. That wasn't gonna
yeah, but they
destroy the world. It was gonna
yeah it
change the
was
world.
yeah
Yeah,
because remember the plan was to go bomb and nuke.
that's right.
So
And that
and
movie was right before Avengers.
yes.
So I guess
Um,
Captain America would have been the first one.
maybe, but I mean, like they all.
It wasn't a giant beam in the sky. This is what we're saying.
I mean, it's like they just they do that a lot, and I don't know why they do it, but they do it a lot.
Yeah,
So
it's to make the stakes huge. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know. I don't want to talk about Marvel because we still got to talk a lot about DC, in which we will talk about Marvel. But so we saw the Suicide Squad behind the scenes trailer. It looks super exciting. Is there a star in that movie that you're most excited to see play one of those roles?
well, not to ride Pete Davidson's nuts too much. But honestly, I'm excited to see what his character's gonna be, and what he's bringing to the table. I'm actually really excited that Idris Elba is not Deadshot,
Right.
because I really want to see a Will Smith standalone Deadshot movie.
That would be
Um,
very cool. And he brought so much life to the character, and he said he loved doing it. I'm sure if they offered it to him, he would probably take them up on it.
dude, one of my favorite things, one of the most outstanding things from the original Suicide Squad movie. There were good parts of that movie.
Right.
I mean, don't get it twisted. I mean, Margot Robbie's performance and her in a bra were all like, that was like worth the price of admission. And
Right.
my favorite part of that movie is when they were talking, when they were recruiting for the Suicide Squad, and Deadshot's talking to Rick Flag, and they got all these guns laid out on the table, and they want to see what he can do. And he's like, "Y'all jokers must be kidding."
Yeah.
And so he starts shooting, and then he's like, "Woo!" And then he smells the gun. You know what I mean? Because like, there's a guy who loves to shoot guns.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's his
And then
whole persona.
and then like, he's like, "All right, here's what I'm gonna need from you. I need you to send my daughter to school, tuition paid." It's an amazing scene, and
Yeah.
I'd love to see more of that Deadshot.
Yeah. I would
So,
love to see that.
like, up to the part where he gets captured by the Batman in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be amazing.
Do you know Idris Elba's character in?
I did, but I can't remember his name. It's something like
It's
the professional, or the
it's like Bloodshot or something.
blood
No,
oath or something. I don't know.
something like that. But what I love is what I learned what his character is.
Mhm.
He's a guy who's put in jail for being the person who shot at Superman. Like in the comics, he literally shoots Superman with like kryptonite bullets. And then he gets put in jail, and then that's how he
Right.
gets on the Suicide Squad, because he's the dude who shot at Superman. And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That's so cool. And I would love if, like, in that movie, when they approach, like, why he's joining the squad, if that's his backstory. We never see
Yeah.
Superman, but we just know he did it.
Right.
Super cool. I'm really excited to see John Cena.
Yeah.
I had a feeling you were gonna go there. Peacemaker is such a funny character because how did he describe it in the behind the scenes? He's like
Captain America was a really big douchebag.
which is so funny. I looked more into his character, and I guess he's seriously just a guy who stands for peace so much that he will kill anybody to get it. And I guess he even goes crazy at one point and thinks like the people he kills, their souls are trapped in that helmet that he wears. So he's always like holding the weight of the people he kills, and I'm like, that's kind of cool and crazy, and I'm excited to see him play that character.
It's so interesting because that's such a Punisher mindset.
It is.
You know what I mean? But he's like superheroed out.
Yeah,
like
he's so
like
colorful.
Superman. Like, he's like colorful, and he's like dun, 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 and he thinks he's the hero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Punisher has no illusions that he is
Punisher's like, I'm a bad
a
guy,
hero. He
but
knows that he's a bad guy,
yeah.
but he's just doing what he does because he thinks that's right. This guy thinks he's the hero
Mm-hmm.
doing the right thing, and it's very, dude. That's gonna provide some really good laughs. One thing I would worry about in
Yeah.
this movie is too many people.
Which that is something that I think when we talked about the cast list right when it came out, I think James Gunn said something along the lines of like, don't get too attached. So I'm
Right.
imagining most of these characters are gonna die. I looked into some of them. I'm not gonna say them just in case I'm right, and then suddenly I just like spoiled something for me. But like a lot of these characters, when I looked into their comic backstory, it's like, oh wow, they died for a stupid reason. They died for a stupid reason. And it's like half of the cast. So I'm like, all right. So I don't know if they're gonna put that in as a joke or
I mean,
it
you
would
remember the
fit.
first movie, Slipknot made it out of the car. You know what I mean? Like that was it. That's all you got out of Slipknot. That was the end of him. So
Man, I thought he
maybe
was
there'll
cool.
be some of those, but well, I mean, like you never really got a chance to
Well, that's the
to
thing. I wanted to see what he could do.
right. But I mean, like there's there's a lot of people, and I mean, I feel like you don't have to blow your wad in one movie. You know what I mean? Like
No.
there's been a couple of actually really good animated DC movies about the Suicide Squad
Right.
with different rosters, and I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
True.
And instead of trying to cram it all into
Cram them
one
all into
movie,
one end. Yeah.
because you're not, this isn't a Hail Mary. You still
Right.
got time to develop movies.
I trust James Gunn in his filmmaking abilities, so I'm
Sure,
sure it'll
sure.
be pretty great. I'm super excited for a real trailer, but this is definitely what they could show off in such short time. Did they say? I'm trying to remember which movie it was. Oh no, it's a different movie we're going to talk about, but it was a pretty interesting fact. But I'll get to that when we get to that one.
Okay, all right.
But the other one I wanted to talk about was this Justice League Snyder Cut trailer.
Oh, I'm excited.
You're excited? Okay, good.
I am
I am
excited.
too. Because I'm not a huge Zack Snyder fanboy because he said Batman should kill people, but
I agree. I agree that Batman should kill people. By the way,
it's like his one moral code. It makes
you
his
know why?
character.
You know why though? Because the Punisher only has to fight bad guys one time.
Yes, it's totally true, but Batman's not the Punisher. His dad is when his dad becomes Batman.
I mean, he beats guys. He gives guys brain damage. You know what I mean? Like you're telling me those henchmen the guy on his first job unloading a stolen truck for the Joker. That son of a bitch is gonna have a limp the rest
Yeah,
of
I
his
was
life.
gonna say he gets
You know what I mean?
paralyzed
Like
and just.
he's a moral guy and he's out here beating the shit out of these poor people. Come on.
Oh, look, I know it's not necessarily the right thing, but he's not killing them. That's his one moral code because
Okay,
that's.
but he doesn't have to kill those guys. But the Joker is the guy who's gonna kill as many people as he can. You got
That's one of the biggest things that they always come back to is like why always you let him live if he's just gonna break out and kill 20 more people. You know what I mean?
and it's a good. I don't know if it's a Buddhist thing or if it's something that was just strictly for Batman, but it was something like Batman says if you kill a murderer, there's still the same amount of murderers in the world.
Right. And then I saw a joke online that was like, but if you kill 1,000 murderers,
Right. Exactly.
and there's Punisher in the scenario.
Right, exactly.
But Snyder Cut overall, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of him, but I think Justice League suffered because we didn't see what he intended for the movie.
Darkseid looks sick.
He's Darkseid, and that's what I'm excited for. Is like we see him. I have a feeling the movie is going to take place heavily in dealing with the future and like seeing where we get to, and that's like that dream sequence that he has in the original. I feel like that's a big chunk of the movie,
Right.
and then it's going to deal with Flash discovering his power to go back and tell Bruce like, hey, Lois Lane's the key and all that. We're going to see so much more. We're going to see more Cyborg. We're going to see more Flash.
I thought they did a really shitty job on Cyborg.
And oh my god, the actor who plays him, I can't remember his name right now. He has been very vocal about how like Joss Whedon and the other producers on the movie, once they pushed Zack Snyder out, they treated him so poorly, and they're essentially like, suck it up, like, you're not the star of this movie. And Zack Snyder has said multiple times that in his original cut of the film, which thankfully we'll get to see, Cyborg is like the heart of the film, and so when they reduce the size of the heart and cut out most of it, then what do we get? And we get a 2 hour
Well, not only that,
whatever
but
we saw.
first of all, the CGI on him didn't look finished.
I agree. I thought
It
that
looked
looked
like
awful when I first
it
saw
looked
it.
like a rough draft
Yeah.
of him. Number one, number two, he's the key because he's the guy
Right.
that communicates. And in not to keep bringing it back to the DC animated universe, but they've done this so right for the past 2 decades
It's true.
that I feel like I kind of have to. But in this DC animated movies that mirror what's going on in this actual set of movies, he's the biggest part because
Right.
he's the one who can communicate with everything. He's the one who, has the technology and is so that makes a lot of sense. You know, Justice League had some really good parts to it.
Yeah.
For one,
Sure.
I thought the casting was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of a Batfleck. I think
Oh
he
my god, I
was.
think he's great.
I thought he was great in that role, and I thought the only thing I didn't like is he'd been Batman for 20 years and he was
Right.
still kind of like unknown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
he
that,
was still
that
like a
didn't make any
myth.
sense.
Like
Yeah,
Jason Todd's Robin suit is hanging in his like bat cave, and I'm like, so the Joker killed Jason Todd, and he's been doing this for years, and he's still like a myth.
right.
That doesn't
But
make any sense.
his fighting style, I thought, and the brutality that he brought to the character.
So great.
And by the way, he did kill people in that movie.
He did, and I was not happy about it.
There's no way that guy was surviving getting his car thrown into a trailer and exploding.
What about when he grapple hooks a wooden crate behind him and throws it at a guy?
A 300-pound wooden crate, and that's
Probably filled with explosives, but just because.
Ben Affleck's been hitting the weights, but that's a whole nother level of strong right
Yeah.
there.
That scene, by the way, where he's like training for the fight, and he's like got the metal suit, and they just have to show that part like 4 different times of him pulling the giant tire.
I think that it's in his contract that they show him working out in the movies,
Yeah,
just
probably
because, like, remember the town, and he's in there for no reason, just working out.
Just going.
But I think that I'm a fan of a Batfleck, and I wish they would have done him differently. Honestly, if you're gonna have him have been the Bat, because you can't have it both ways. You can't have Batman in town for 20 years doing what he does and being the outlaw and a myth.
Well,
At that point,
they tried to make
Batman,
they tried to make it Dark Knight Returns.
Yes,
Which,
right, and they shouldn't have done that.
No,
because at this point he's more like Batman in Batman Returns, where he has a bat light, and the commissioner is on a first name basis with him, calls him Bats, and they work together, and he's part of the city. So I didn't like that. I realized that it's a challenge because with somebody who's been Affleck's age, he's not like, he didn't just pick up the cowl at 41 and like, oh man, I'm gonna start doing this. But at the same time, if you're going to do that, do it right. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, but also when we get these movies, I mean, shouldn't we see the team in their prime?
Yes. 1,000%.
So it's weird to think that Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, some of them are immortal, but they're all in their prime.
Yes.
And then Batman's this 40-something year old exactly. It doesn't seem right. But
no, I agree. And when Justice League was formed, it should be they're all rookies. You know what I mean? Right. It should be an all rookie team.
And that's kind of how, like, I know we shouldn't be comparing it because they shouldn't be doing this, but when Marvel did the Avengers, the first Avengers movie is them teaming up, and it's not until they're fighting in New York that they actually feel like a team. In the second Avengers movie, which most people thought it was okay, but the thing is, in that one, they felt like a team. They worked way better together in a lot of those situations, especially the opening scene. And then in the third one is when we get the breakup, or at least from Civil War, and then we see the fallout of when the team doesn't work. That was a good, like, progression for this team, and then we're getting Justice League, and I don't know. It didn't feel like it should have,
No, for sure. And quite frankly, I judge my Batman. Excuse my voice. I judge my Batman on his fighting style,
right?
because the way Ben Affleck's fighting style was in that movie is the kind of fighting style that you need when fighting a group of people, because you have to put people down with
Right.
one blow so
Right.
you can move on to the next guy. So I mean that's real, and Krav Maga too. When it's just, dude, it's so. I want to see more. I want to see more Batman Ben Affleck
Yeah, me
stuff,
too. Which
but I
that's
want it to be he's not friends with, but he has a relationship with Commissioner Gordon,
right.
and Gotham, has been better because he's there, but he's fighting these supervillains.
Right. And that's what I'm excited to see for this for not only the Snyder Cut, but this Flash movie that
Mm-hmm.
we'll eventually get. He's signed on to come back as Batman in Flash's universe. So we're gonna get to see more of Batman. I don't know if we're gonna see him fighting people. I feel like he's just gonna be like a voice at the beginning of the movie or
Well,
talking to him.
Michael Keaton is also going to be in that movie,
Right.
and he's going to be the guy who designs Flash's new costume.
So freaking cool. And did you see Flash's new costume and those like
Yeah,
oh, it looks like a freaking superhero costume, which is what
so
I love.
awesome.
Because I hated Flash's costume in Justice League because it looked like a mesh of metal that didn't make sense.
I hated so much of Flash. I liked him. I liked the guy they got to play him.
Right.
I think he's a very good Barry Allen.
I hate his joke about brunch that doesn't land.
Yeah, no, that's.
They're like,
I mean,
we need him to be awkward. Let's give him awkward dialogue.
he tried though. The running got me. You know what I mean? Like
He's
the way he. Yeah, it's like real. Like that's not how people run. Have you ever
No.
seen a person run?
But also, what I liked about Flash, or at least in any other iteration I've ever seen, he's always doing the like in his
Right.
like lane kind of thing, and I always thought that fit the character more. I guess.
Well, that's how track stars run, because it's aerodynamic and
Right.
it's your hands are in tight, and you're.
So maybe because he's still just getting used to it, that's how he's running in Justice League. But in the Flash, like with him getting the new suit, he's gonna be actually like, on top of it. If in that movie he suddenly starts running like this, I'm gonna like cheer in my seat. I'm gonna be like, yes, he's the Flash.
Are you a Barry Allen, or are you a Wally West Flash guy?
I'm a Wally West Flash, but the problem is in every modern iteration they go, hey, we want to do Flash, but we want him to be funny. Okay, so you want Wally West, and we're like, no, nobody knows Wally West. We gotta do Barry Allen. Just do Barry Allen, but make him funny. And that's what they've done. They did it in the TV show. They did it in
Right.
the Justice League movie, and I'm like, Barry Allen was never funny.
No,
He was way more serious. He occasionally cracked a joke, but they made him like.
Well, he had the like the Batman story. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he had the tragedy thing that happened to
He
him.
took it
so.
way more seriously, and for some reason they're like, we want Barry Allen, but we want him with the personality of Wally West. And at that point, I'm just like, just do Wally West then.
See, and like I hated what they did with the show The Flash.
Yeah.
Making Wally West his brother and making him be Kid Flash or whatever the hell they made. I don't know, man. It's just that whole thing started out great. It's like an orgy, you know what I mean? Like it starts out, you're excited and everything's going really well, and then before you know it, there's just a bunch of people piled on top of you, and you don't even care anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I do. I totally know what you mean.
Never been annoyed. Okay, fine. You're
But
young.
going back to the Snyder Cut, how do you feel about it being 4 hours?
I'm okay with it.
They're splitting it up
Especially-
in 4 parts.
They should, and I like that a lot. I think that's it could be longer. You can make it a mini series. You know what I mean? Like
That's essentially what it's gonna be, just a 4-hour
I'm good with
miniseries.
that. And we've been watching a lot of those as a society lately, so I don't have a problem with it. And I'm excited because the Steppenwolf looks different. The new Batman suit, I get such Nick Cage vibes from it.
I don't even know if I saw the new Batman suit.
It's black. It's all black.
Oh, really? That's what they did with Superman.
I meant Superman. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
that's okay. I was like, I don't. They did a new Batman suit. Yeah, it's his resurrection suit from the comics, which that's what Zack Snyder's doing. He's like, we killed him, and now he's back, so got to do the full black. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But I mean, at the end of the movies, if he's fighting Steppenwolf and he's in an all black suit, I'm gonna be upset.
Really? Why?
Because his standard suit is what I would imagine him in Justice League as. So if he's fighting with Justice League, I want him in that suit. I do want to see him in the black suit, but maybe for something else.
You're a big Superman fan, right?
I love Superman.
See, like
for
you're one of
all
the only
the
people I
wrong
know that
reasons.
really love Superman.
Yeah, for
Like,
all the wrong reasons.
What reasons are those?
Well, no. But just that, I'm aware that he is boring. And we've had this discussion on this podcast where he's so hard to write for because he's a god. But that's what interests me more, because I would almost rather get a Joker-esque introspective to the character. And that's what I focused on more over the years, because I like that he can do anything, but that's what that's also his limitation. I think there was something when he first fought either Darkseid or Doomsday in the comics. He made some sort of comment about how, he was happy he could go all out, because he was like, you have no idea how annoying it is that you have to walk around all day like everything's made out of paper. And I was like, ooh, that's this kind of stuff I'm interested in.
I mean, it's an interesting character study of a guy who could rule the world, who chooses to serve it instead.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that makes him. I don't know, man. I feel like he is too not innocent, but just like there's nothing interesting in his backstory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He has a very
he just has perfect genetics. He doesn't have to work to be a superhero.
There's happy childhood with parents that raised him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's that his strength is also his weakness is what's so interesting to me for a character. I'm trying to remember the other thing I was going to say about him that I love. That's essentially the gist of it, though. The fact that he has to limit himself is just so interesting. It was in Batman v Superman that, I was so... I felt the scene so much, because it was when he goes into the courthouse and he's gonna, testify on Capitol Hill.
Right.
And then the bomb goes off in that dude's wheelchair.
And then everybody dies but him.
Yeah, and the whole room is on fire around him and everybody's dead. And he just kind of looks there just upset because he realizes the moment of, they're going to blame this on me. I didn't see it. He realizes here's just one more thing that
got set up.
That's another notch down for him. And I'm I felt that so much. And I was like, that's more of the Superman that I want to see. That expands more on, he can do anything, but I want to explore his limitations emotionally, I guess. If that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. And I like that. I like that angle a lot. And I love, one of the things I love about Justice League, from the books to the cartoons to any iteration I've ever seen, is the dynamic between Batman and Superman, the light and the dark. Both are just, both are moral, but they have such different, not even approaches, but there's a great, when you talk about Batman's the natural leader of the Justice League. Right. Because he's so much smarter than everybody else.
It's true.
He's so much smarter than everybody else.
World's greatest detective.
That he has a plan to take out the Justice League in case they go crazy.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
That is such a great movie.
We're talking about Justice League Doom, by the way. It's an animated film where the Legion of Doom, before they're formed, by the way, it's a new Legion of Doom.
It's their formation of them, right?
Yeah. They get together a squad because one of them, I think it was Mirror Master, gets into the Batcave and downloads files off his computer because Batman had a plan to take down the Justice League.
You think he would have Windows 10 with firewall or something that would prevent that, but
I think that was the main thing I was most upset about in that movie, was the fact that they hacked into the Bat computer. I'm like, I feel like nobody could do that, but okay.
It's what's his password? It's Martha. You know what I mean?
With 3 exclamation points.
Why did you say that name?
But what I love in that movie is when they ask him, you're so smart, why didn't you have why didn't you have a plan in case you went rogue? And he said, I did. It's the Justice League.
Right.
Freaking awesome.
great line that is.
So freaking cool. I love Batman.
And he is like as rigid as Superman is in his ethics, dude.
Right.
Nobody sticks to their ethics like the Batman, and that's like, dude, that is just like.
Yet you still want him to kill people.
I do because I appreciate his character that he has that,
right.
But I also believe that not everybody. I don't want him to be a mass murderer. You know what I mean?
It's like a dude robbing a car, and he's like,
like,
"What are you?" And he's like, "I'm Batman." Stab.
I don't want to see like a whole like henchman just getting strung up everywhere. I'm talking about like when you're dealing with someone like the Joker, who is a legitimate threat to society,
right?
In that way that he would like, kill thousands of people. That's just something you gotta pluck out. And you can't keep locking him in a mental institution with walls that are so easy to Andrew Dufresne out of. You know what I mean?
I think it's always because they always say like, yeah, they keep putting him in Arkham Asylum. It's the greatest like mental institution / prison in Gotham. Like he'll never get out, but he gets out every time. So I'm like,
every single time.
I'm like, either Joker's really smart or Arkham sucks. But also, doesn't like every other villain escape from Arkham all the time?
Every time. Yeah, every time they go to check on the villains, they're like, "Oh, that's not him."
You know what
where's he?
You know what I feel like they need to do, Arkham? They just need to like freelance and like hire Batman as like a contractor to make to design and make like his own thing. He's like, here's my assistant to help me. His name's Old Robin, but it's just Alfred in a cape. He's like, I'll get to work, sir.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way to do what they're doing, because I mean, people just get out of that place so easily.
Yeah, and I love it too. They always go, we have this other high security prison called Blackgate in another county, and the really bad ones from there, we also send them to Arkham. And I'm like, so they're getting out too.
It's like a halfway house. You just walk out the door.
Yeah, that's what Arkham Asylum is. So we also have, I want to save the best for last. So we have Wonder Woman 84.
Looks awesome.
Looks so freaking good.
Visually, like even in the commercials, visually it looks so good.
Her like lassoing the lightning is all you need to show me to sell that movie.
By the way, isn't that a song by a 90s band, Lasso the Lightning?
Lasso the Lightning. I think it's by Yes.
The all gold outfit that she wears. Steve, what's his face?
Trevor.
Steve Trevor's costuming. I mean, like just the whole vibe. They crush it.
I think
they crush the 80s vibe.
I think it's so great that in the first movie, she's the one walking around like the civilized world, and he's telling her like, no, you can't do that. That's a car. That's not, And now he's the man out of time.
He's the ape, yeah.
Yeah, then she's like, I think in one of the first teasers or trailers they showed, he was like, and what's that? And she's like, that's a trash can.
Right. Like, she says everything is art, and he's like looking at a trash can.
Yeah,
he's like, no, that's a trash can. Yeah, that's so funny.
Oh, it's so great.
And she is magnificent. Jesus God Almighty! Like,
I will give it to DC. They really do know how to cast their movies.
I mean,
at least the big three, I think, have been the most perfect casting in their entire franchise.
Since the only other better casting I've ever seen is Wolverine.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, like everything else, like, dude, Aquaman.
You don't want to put Tony Stark up there, Robert Downey Jr.
That's pretty good.
He was kind of born to play that role.
I mean, honestly, he kind of was.
Anything past that voices Iron Man, they're just doing a Robert Downey Jr. impression.
Yeah, no, I agree. And honestly, it's one of the reasons I can't really mess with the Avengers game, because I can't deal with Tony Stark not being Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, so I'll give you that one.
Nolan North is a good voice actor, though, so I think he'll do a good job, because he's the one doing Tony Stark in that game. Meh. But no, I think Wonder Woman looks great. How do you feel about Kristen Wiig?
I think she looks like she's going to do a great job.
Yeah,
I really do.
honestly, when they first showed off her, I think in a poster or something, and she's just wearing cheetah print, I was like, she's not actually gonna be cheetah, is she? She's not actually gonna be like half human, half cheetah hybrid kind of thing. That's upsetting. And then at the end of the trailer, she is, and I was like,
She is, and it
I was
looks
like, they
awesome.
did it. They actually did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's super exciting.
That's very exciting. And just what's the guy's name? Pedro Pascal,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who's the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
He's in there as Max something.
Yeah, he's some government official, I guess, or the president. I can't remember what his.
He's kind of the Lex Luthor of this this movie, where he's like the money and the evil behind everything that's gonna happen.
I think he's the reason why Cheetah turns into Cheetah.
Right, probably. Yeah.
That's what.
And he's probably somehow is the one who brings back Steve Trevor.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, which we still have no idea how he's back.
It's gonna be exciting.
It's gonna be super exciting.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I was really disappointed when they pushed it back.
Yeah, I mean, of course, everything has to be.
Sure.
So the big kicker, which I'm happy they saved this for last for the DC Fandome, was the Batman trailer. And boy, this looks so freaking good.
Dude, I'm telling you, so you like go in with, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
I am too.
I mean, honestly, because you go in with such low expectations of this movie. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't know what's coming. But you take the guy who, and forgive me to this actor because he's amazing and phenomenal, the guy who plays James Gordon in this movie.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright is a phenomenal actor.
So great.
And you lead in with him voiceovering the beginning of the commercial.
Reading the Riddler card that he left.
And all of a sudden, legitimacy is lent to that movie just by the powerhouse that is Jeffrey Wright. Mm-hmm. So you kick in the Nirvana, haunting Nirvana song, Something in the Way. Dude, I was like, oh. You know what I mean? And then I spent, I would say, an hour and a half watching people just react to the scene where he beats up the henchman.
So amazing. Because, that's the kind of Batman brutality I want to see. I will say, though, I was so into it until he did the final one after he fell on the ground. Oh, yeah. I was like, you took him down, but I feel like we're still... They said he's in year 2, so I feel like he's still... getting the ropes of Batman, so I feel like, say, year 3, he wouldn't do that extra couple of punches.
But he's still mad.
Right.
And he's not just doing this as a job anymore to clean up the city. He's still... He's vengeance. Right. You know what I mean? He's not justice. He's vengeance. You know, I am the knight. So I am vengeance. Cool. I am Batman. I mean, dude, iconic lines. And, dude, Robert Pattinson... I knew this kid was going to kill it. I knew he was.
I knew so too.
And I haven't seen this, so let's not get carried away just yet. But as Batman, as he delivered that line, "I am vengeance," so well without a dumbass. Where's Rachel? You know what I mean? He delivered so well. Just a little thing like leaving the eye black on when he takes his mask off.
Thank you. That is something that I've been waiting to see for so long.
That's such a little thing that everybody has glossed over. And
do you remember in Tim Burton's second one, Batman Returns? Mm-hmm. Batman Returns? Is that it? No.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the name of it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought never mind. But it's when Michael Keaton's taken off the mask, and it's like he's got the black eyes.
When he's talking to Max Schreck and Selena Kyle?
Yes, and he takes off the mask, and it does the reveal, and his hair is all messed up, but he takes it off, he's got the black eyes, and when he takes it off, he doesn't have the black eyes.
Absolutely.
I'm like, it's clearly a makeup thing that Batman does. Why not keep it?
I gotta tell you, man, it was such a revelation when I watched this trailer that everything about it looks so right. The way they did it, the way they set it up. I love the Batmobile. It looks like a 69 Charger with a rocket on the back of it. I mean, it's just I am so. I mean, it's not coming out for like 65 years, so
I know.
I'm getting a little
That
pretty
was
excited for no reason.
that was the
Hopefully,
other that was the other fun fact I was going to say. By the way, for one of the previous movies, they've only shot 25% of this movie.
right? It's not even done yet.
We like that trailer is so pre-production. It's crazy.
I mean, it's like wow. I was blown away, and I had very little expectations. Not because I don't think that they could do a good job or that, um, you know, I think anybody could be Batman if they're a good enough actor. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it
He's
comes down, you
he's
know,
proven himself
yeah. And
in countless things.
I figured he'd be fine, but he looks like he's going to be awesome in it, and I'm
How
really excited.
how do you feel now that we see the bat suit in a better light?
Love it.
I think it looks freaking awesome. And in one of the shots right before we see it, when Jeffrey Wright's still reading the Riddler's like note, we see like it literally just looks like combat boots that he's wearing, and I'm like, that seems like a very starting out like Batman thing that he
Yeah,
just
like
wear those.
Batman's all of a sudden a cobbler in all of his other movies and is forming his own rubber boots somewhere.
Well,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
You're right. Yeah.
And like, what the hell? Like, this is like these are high, like the company high tech. These are like high tech boots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just little stuff like that, and it seems like this is going to pay a lot of attention to detail, and I believe that we're going to see Court of Owls stuff, which is so cool.
I had no idea about that, but if that's the case, that's going to be incredible.
Um, well, I think that's kind of like, or maybe I'm
Well, the
mistaking that with the
well,
video game.
the Gotham Knights,
Gotham
the
Knights.
video game, is dealing with Court of Owls.
But I also kind of got the impression though that maybe that's who Riddler was going after.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is with Riddler, we see him for a split second, and he doesn't look like the Riddler at all.
No, not even a little bit.
No, and I mean, I guess I can't. I had very high expectations for all of the characters, especially the ones I love. I love the Riddler as a character. He's one of my favorite Batman villains. But the fact alone that he left a green card for him, I was like, well, at least they kept the green for something, you know. But it doesn't look like he'll be wearing any green outfits.
See,
but we
I
don't know.
like that though. You know what I mean? I like that there's reality because obviously in real life, and you know, this is not real life, but in reality, a guy's not going to get a custom made question mark suit. You know what I mean? Like that guy, he's not going to be walking around like Jim Carrey with pink hair and a leotard.
Okay, Jim Carrey took it to a way different place. But I would still like to imagine that maybe when he got really full of himself, maybe later into the movie, like he's really into his own ego and he's leaving all these question mark, you know, notes and riddles for Batman. Like what if by the end he's wearing like a suit that's kind of an off green and he literally like sewed in patches to make it look like a very awkward question mark on the back. That alone I'd be like, he's the Riddler.
Right.
Cool. Colin Farrell as Colin Farrell? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
As Oswald Cobblepot as the Penguin.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is wearing like half of his face is all prosthetics, like he doesn't look like Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, is that? No, that's not. And then it was later that somebody made a post like, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And I was like, ugh. He's definitely not Colin Farrell.
It's so exciting, dude. It's so, it's, Jesus. It's so exciting to see finally that we're getting some movies to look forward to. And the way they've done this, like this is the Batman that should be joining Justice League, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
maybe
what I mean?
a couple more years in, but yeah, like
Well,
where he's prime Batman.
And he's like, you know, hey, I'm a billionaire. I can build us a building. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Like he does with the Watchtower.
Who wants to design me a space station?
Right, exactly. So
I'll pay for it.
That kind of stuff is cool, man. And I don't know. This is obviously not connected to that, but you know, I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked, and I love the way they did it. And you know, a lot of people are doing a great job with music in trailers, and it seems like the big thing now is to take a a song and kind of slow it down or get a um like a cover. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like and but the way it's used in this movie is just
So well done.
it's perfect, and it's like it's frankly it's like it was made for me. It's my
Yeah.
youth. You know what I mean? Like all that shit is my youth wrapped into one 2.5 minute clip.
Real quick, I did want to say Zack Snyder for the Snyder Cut trailer used that version of Hallelujah, which I mean, I don't think enough people are calling him out on it, but he used that same exact song for the trailer for Watchmen.
Oh, well, that figure.
And then when I heard that, I was like, is he just trying to do Watchmen again?
So lazy.
And I'm like, I think Zack Snyder just really likes that song. There's so many other songs you could have done.
Ridley Scott uses the same music in all his movies too. So I mean, I guess maybe people just find something that they feel
They
like.
and they're like, one day I want to put this in a movie, and then they do like their third movie, and they're like,
Right.
all right, I'm gonna do that again just because I like it.
Yeah, and maybe it's like this is what defines my work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't know, but
What are you most excited for out of all of DC Fandome?
oh, Batman, no question,
Yeah, me
no
too.
question.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to be because there's so many other good things, but this Batman thing, like just when they were releasing the cast list for this, I was like, this is gonna be something really special.
I mean, it's like nothing else. I mean, there's like
Yeah,
no, Wonder Woman's gonna be awesome, and a lot of it has to do with how far stuff is away. You know what I mean? Like Wonder Woman,
true.
that's not that far away. You know what I mean? I
I'm
get to
not.
see that.
I'm not as excited for that because I know I get to see it sooner,
Right.
which is kind of weird to think because I feel like it should
No,
be
no,
the
no.
opposite.
I get what you're saying. Like it's a thing where it's like, okay, that itch is gonna be scratched. So,
Right. Is there anything from DC Fandom that you weren't into?
um, let's see. I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything that I was like, eh. You
There
know what I mean?
there's a lot of stuff, and obviously I don't care about Titans,
Right.
and stuff like that.
They said Jason
Um,
Todd's gonna show up in the next season of Titans.
ooh,
Ooh.
like who gives a shit? But I will say this. I would really like to see them explore Green Arrow in a movie.
I feel like that's such a smart way to go, but they would never do it because Stephen Amell made Green Arrow popular again. You know what I mean? Like with the TV show. So I feel like they would just never do it.
They
You
might
know,
not. The kid I think would be great at that.
who's that?
And this is weird, but you saw Grown Ups too.
Yeah.
David
You're gonna make me look up a name.
what in the hell is Spade? David Spade's son in that movie?
That'll be easy to figure out. Grown ups too.
Who was also he was Barry in Bad Boys for Life.
Okay. I'm scrolling through the cast list now. Oh, was it Alexander Ludwig? No.
Yeah, that's him.
Yes.
Big
The
big kid, blonde.
yeah, this guy.
That's him. Yeah.
Yep. I had a
I
feeling.
feel like that guy would be a great Green
He
Arrow.
did good. He's also funny.
He's
Which,
funny.
yeah,
He's
he could pull
beefy.
off.
You get the impression like he could pull off the action, and
Right.
I always thought Green Arrow was kind of a poor man's Batman. Anyway,
He essentially is. He's got
so
a lot of the same powers.
mhm. Which are no powers.
Exactly. I'm rich.
I have the power of really high credit.
Yes. But DC Fandome's super exciting. We're already hitting 58 minutes, so I think we should at least just talk about like what have you been watching
So much.
during all of this?
So much. I did a lot of dating shows,
Oh, God.
We got into 90 Day Fiance stuff, and there's like 16 of those shows.
You got into TikTok?
I did get into TikTok.
But
It's full of very talented people, which is weird. I would say Spencer Confidential is something definitely people should look into. It's on Netflix. King of Staten Island was great. You could probably rent that at this point. I saw The Tax Collector,
The Tax
which
Collector. Which one was
is
that?
Shia LaBeouf. where they work for a cartel collecting money on the street gangs of Los
Was
Angeles.
this kind of recent?
It's very
Yeah,
recent
it came out
actually,
this year.
and
I remembered seeing the poster.
so it was really bad because
Yeah.
it was super predictable. But let me tell you something, Shia LaBeouf killed it.
Really?
He was so good in this movie.
I feel like he just like I don't know how I feel about Shia LaBeouf because I feel like he's like just needs to come down to earth, but he's also making movies where he's clearly just trying to be artistic, like that Honey Boy movie he did, Peanut Butter Falcon he did. Like these are all products that he's like, I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, good for him. Do it.
And clearly he's happy doing it.
And but that movie was bad. Don't get it. I don't know. I shouldn't have brought it up. I just wanted to say that he did such a great job. Project Power made me realize that I need way more JGL in my life.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We never got to see him as Robin.
Nope. I love my wife and I, and this. If I'm going to recommend something for anybody, I'm going to recommend The Sopranos. 6 seasons. 6 seasons. My wife had never seen it. I watched it in real time when it happened back in the day, and the show holds up incredibly.
This past weekend, I went to Vegas to visit my brother, and we went to the Mob Museum.
Nice.
And it's really, really cool. But on the bottom floor around the gift shop, it's like filled with like movie and TV memorabilia attached to the mob. So like the hazmat suit from Breaking Bad was in there.
Really?
Like, that's
like
freaking
the real one?
Yeah, like and the gas mask from the episode where they threw it out the car.
That's awesome.
That's freaking so cool. And the other thing that they had was Tony Soprano's like lounge wear. It was like Tony Soprano
his robe?
Relax. No, it wasn't. It was more like Malibu Miami-esque, like like very very chill wear. Not what he wears for the majority of the show. But I was just like, hey, Sopranos, that's cool. Of course they would be in the Mob Museum. But I thought that was so funny. But I'm happy to hear you loved the show. I mean, you had already watched it, right?
I watched it. I loved it the first time around. I had such a different perspective on it
because you knew everything.
Second time because I knew what was going to happen.
Right. How'd your wife like the ending?
She hated it. She hated it.
Yay! Everybody did.
But the build, she was absolutely obsessed with the show.
Good.
Like, yeah. So I mean, like watching her watch that and be into it, it was really cool. And it made me realize, like you watch that show and nobody has cell phones in the beginning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's 20 years old at this point, but
it's crazy.
Just completely timeless. You know what I mean? Like it holds up. Not as a period piece, like it holds up, like it's great.
Do you think that's gonna be like? Because even now, when I go on HBO, it's like watch The Soprano. Like they even know how big of a show it was. So do you think that's gonna go down as like HBO's probably most popular show, like at least top 3?
I would say yeah, it's got to be. I mean,
Game of Thrones is probably higher, but that was just from mass appeal.
I feel like Game of Thrones. I feel like it's different. You know what I mean?
It is different.
There's just something different about it because there wasn't, the way the Sopranos originally was appointment setting. You know what I mean? Sunday night, your ass was in front of that TV watching that show. Where it wasn't like that with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, people DVR'd it, or streamed it the next day. You know what I mean? And obviously there were a lot of people that watched it on Sunday night when it was on. But nothing like The Sopranos. It wasn't.
It was an event.
It was an event, and it did have Game of Thrones did have a cultural impact, but nothing like The Sopranos. Nothing like The Sopranos. There's just I don't know. I would say Sopranos is probably, if not their biggest, one of their biggest shows.
I hope Watchmen goes down in that listing too.
Dude, that. I don't know if we've talked about that since we've done this, but I watched that, and it was so great.
I think on one of the last episodes we did, I recommended it to you.
I loved it, man. I thought it was
so good. And then they leave it somewhat open for a second season, and I was like, I'd be fine if they just left it there.
Yeah,
and just ended it there because that was so freaking good.
I mean, it was it was great, man.
It was so good.
I was blown away, and like the. It's funny because like the Tulsa riots, like I never knew that was a thing.
And that's gotten so much more attention more recently, and so
Absolutely.
many newscasters are like, even the Tulsa massacre, that's something that most people didn't know until the show Watchmen. And I was like, me, yeah, I had
Guilty.
no idea, and I wish I knew about this horrible thing that happened. But I'm happy a show of all things could bring light to it and make it a plot point. Like, that's awesome.
Are you going to go see Bill and Ted this weekend?
I'm not, because I still don't, and this could be another like little discussion. I still don't feel comfortable going to the theater.
Me neither.
So if anything, if it became a, oh hey, my family wants to watch it like early on streaming, and I get them all to like pitch in because all of them have access to my Voodoo account, which we all use. So it's like, okay, everybody pitch in, a couple bucks, and then everybody watch it this weekend while we own it for a short time, and then we can all see Bill and Ted 3.
Well, they're doing a drive-in of it at
Are they?
Sunday at Tailgaters this weekend.
Ooh,
Like 4 showings, I think.
that's different. Because
Yeah.
that I might do. I've done a couple drive-ins during this. I saw Sonic the Hedgehog for the second time because I was like, "Hey, it's a drive-in. Might as well."
Yeah. It's $20 a car too, so
That's
I
not
mean
bad.
that's just $10 for you and your chick. If you
Yeah.
bring other people, then cheaper even.
Right.
I don't know. I'm out. I'm out on the Bill and Ted's.
Really? You're not
Yeah.
excited?
I'm not because I was excited. I've been excited for 20 years. Then I saw the trailers, and guess what? Bill and Ted, first of all, everything they did in the first 2 movies doesn't count.
Nope.
And looks like they're gonna need their teenage daughters to change their life and fix the world.
Well, I think the majority of the movie is them like time hopping, right? And then
Yeah.
their teenage daughters are the ones who will probably end up like they write it with them. That's what I'm imagining it's gonna be. Like they're gonna
Well,
write it with them because they already seem more successful than them in the movie and music. Because
Yeah.
that was the thing that they addressed in both movies, that they don't know how to play their instruments.
Right. But then at the end of the second movie, they become worldwide superstars. They learn how to play their instruments, and then they're great. And then all of a sudden, now they suck again.
Right, but that's I think that's because it's a cash grab thing in addition to it. Also, I just get creeped out anytime I see now Keanu Reeves without the beard.
It's weird, right?
I don't like seeing him without it.
His face looks plastic.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm like and that was another thing. Keanu Reeves recently said something about like how he would really want to play a superhero, and he was like, "I really want to be the next Wolverine." And they're like, "We'd love to do it, but you're too old." And I'm like, "I would never want to see Keanu Reeves as or as Wolverine because he can't, get out a line." And that's the thing that I love about Keanu Reeves, because when he plays characters that he was made for, he does it spectacular, like Neo in The Matrix and John Wick. But if he plays like, I don't know, I guess it's how he delivers lines that just don't sit well with me for a lot of movies.
Did you ever see that movie Sweet November? I'm 2 Cleos ahead of the game, Bob.
Oh god. Well, I remember in Speed where the baby carriage gets run over by the bus, but it turns out it was just like a bunch of cans of like soup or something in it, and he's holding her because she's so afraid that the baby just got crushed, and he goes, "It's cans. It was just cans." That's how he says it, and it's awful.
You sound like the Cowardly Lion.
It's just cans.
Yeah, but tell me the hair on the back of your neck stands back. It's like, everybody's been asking me if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer, but yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I mean, I'm excited for Cyberpunk 2077 because he's in it.
Don't care.
You don't care? That's a discussion for another podcast.
Different podcast.
Yeah, I know. But Keanu Reeves is in it. Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for No Talking During the Movies. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to talk about movies with you,
Me
because
too, man.
anytime that we mention it on the video game podcast, we immediately make the joke of like, yeah, we used to do this. But it's been a long week, but I'm happy that we came back around.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have movies to talk about and you know.
And that's never gonna go away either. That's what I love about movies, because even if
But
it's
it did go away.
well, yeah, but I just mean like, sure, we talked about DC this whole time, but a good portion of that was us comparing it to movies that we've probably rewatched during this. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
And to be fair, we could have done an hour on the other movies that we didn't even touch on.
Yeah, there was a couple of things we were going to talk about today. Tenet, like, you know, but stuff's happening, and I'm excited.
Exciting.
I'm excited that we're gonna be back into it. But all right, well, Tank, I think that's gonna do it today. You feeling good?
Great, yeah. Nice job.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody so much for listening or watching, because now we got footage that'll go on our YouTube video. That's gonna go on our YouTube channel. I heard an echo of myself doing that one. Oh my god. That's gonna go on our YouTube channel. No talking during the movies. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.